Interplanetary Transmission Stardust is a new book of proceedings from the Santa Fe Institute's second Interplanetary Festival. Woven throughout this volume are original writings from some of the visionary scientists and futurists who spoke at the event, and also 10 original works of art. These pieces consist of 2 or 3 meaningful photographs woven together at the beginning of each chapter. We thought about the possibility of weaving photographs together when we realized that the human art of textile was a thread that ran through all of the conversations of the festival's panels. So shortly after Interplanetary wrapped up, the Santa Fe Institute press team, the Interplanetary team, and SFI's president David Krakauer convened to figure out how we wanted to visually tether all of these panels together while still maintaining that energy. We started talking about what our favorite elements of the festival were, and for a while we were wrapped up in conversing about Nicholas DeMoncho's lecture, which was really about the book that he wrote called Fashioning Apollo. Fashioning Apollo is about the history of the making of the Apollo 11 moon suit. The suit, in and of itself, actually is a really lovely example of complexity. It's 13 distinct layers. Each layer is made out of a very specific material that serves a very specific function, but when all of those layers are arranged in a certain order and stitched together, that new composite fabric serves one very crucial function, which is keeping a human being alive on the surface of the moon. And the most interesting thing about that history is that those suits, these technological innovations in wardrobe, these great new garments, were engineered actually by the seamstresses at Playtex. So the same hands that were making our bras and our girdles and our pantyhose were the hands that were responsible for this spectacular suit. And that little morsel, that feminine bit of the history of the Apollo 11 mission, was something that I didn't know about prior to this Interplanetary Festival or prior to reading that book and talking to Nick about it. So this was really yummy, and we wanted to keep it present in however we approach this project. By virtue of that conversation, David reminded us all of the Fairchild Semiconductor manufacturing plant, which was right here in New Mexico in Shiprock, which is also Navajo Nation. And that plant was predominantly employed by grossly underpaid Navajo women, the thought being at the time that because they have a centuries-long culture of weaving and textile artisanry, they could apply their nimble dexterity to the manufacturing of semiconductor chips that would eventually be deployed in a variety of new technologies. And from there, we started thinking about computation in general, and how actually the first computer, the computer from which all of the computers we use today derived, was really a loom. It was a machine that was made for the production of textiles. And the punch cards that allowed for these very intricate designs to be incorporated into the fabric were stolen and reappropriated and used in the very first versions of the computers that got us to the moon. And so we realized that there was this rich foundation of textile, of craftsmanship, of weaving and thread, and handiwork that would essentially be relegated to, quote, women's work, and that the women who produced these works were responsible for the foundation upon which all of our technological achievements depend. And that was a really lovely thing that we realized often goes unacknowledged, and we wanted to shed light upon it. So we started thinking about how to visually keep that alive in the art for this book. From there, we all broke up and started brainstorming about how to achieve this visualization, and we went a million different directions. At first, we thought we might include images of old punch cards from jacquard looms, and then we thought we could even encode some and share secret messages throughout the book with our readers. We thought about the fact that humans aren't the only things on this earth that weave, and it would be somewhat hubristic and anti-interplanetary if we only included images of works created by humans. So we thought about spiders or their webs, and perhaps including imagery that relates to both of those things, the weaver and the woven item in this book. But then we thought that this would be a fun opportunity to collaborate with some contemporary fiber artists. We could highlight their work, and we could also showcase exactly how the medium of fiber art has evolved. We thought about working with a local Navajo weaver named Melissa Cody, and then we thought about working with a fabulous photographer named Kyle Myers, who's using textile and photography in a really clever way together. And then we just started thinking about photography in general. How, again, this year was a celebration of how human beings walked on the moon 50 years ago. And now, at Interplanetary, we're all staring up at the moon 50 years later, wondering what's to come. And we have a rich library of images from then to now that are very inspiring in that way. So when we first experimented with weaving photographs together, we learned that really colorful images suffer from this process, that highly detailed images suffer from this process. So we started thinking about contrast and void and composition, and we decided to take some visual components that were present in each of the festival's panels and weave those together with the hope that the juxtaposition, the emergent image, would be this emblematic image of the content that was discussed in the panel writ large. We must have done 50 of these pieces before we settled on the 10 or so that made it into the book, but it was a really wonderful process. If our mission was to shed light on this side of artistry and these invisible women, these artisans who are behind the technological scenes, who, paved the way for what we've accomplished, it felt like the weaving itself was a practice in honoring that medium. I should also take the opportunity to say that everyone on the Interplanetary team and everyone on the press team are women. So while we never explicitly addressed this, I don't think it was lost on any of us when we were sharing a space, talking about the content of these panels, and producing these pieces in this particular medium for this book. So that was a really lovely embodiment of the type of respect we hope our readers have for everything we are attempting to draw attention to. And I'm really proud of the work that we did. I think these pieces are gorgeous. I'm so excited to include them in this volume, and I hope that you enjoy them too.